Hello, dear friends. This is Pernilla coming back, talking a little more about the matrix, the old paradigm, how to get out of it, and why that is so important. I remember many years ago, my first introduction to the Hakomi method. I am a certified Hakomi therapist or practitioner. And my first introduction to that, I think it was in 1999 or something like that, was a workshop called Waking Up from the Family Trance. And I thought that was a very interesting title because I had never really thought about me living in a trance based on what I grew up in, how my parents were, the culture I was in, everything. So it was a big eye opener and becoming aware, excuse me, of a lot of the programming from my parents that were just kind of infused into me. And that's how programming is. It's just coming at you all day long. And you can kind of think about if you're watching the TV or something like that all day long, you are being infused with programs. And it kind of puts us in some kind of a trance state, especially when we're young. We don't really have the filters yet. We don't have the awareness. We don't have the discernment. I would say we do have the discernment, but if it's not being met and mirrored back to us as this is true, your inner discernment, then we just kind of pulled away because the programming is so strong. I'm not going to say that our parents do this on purpose because they're equally programmed as their parents were and their parents were, and on it goes. So seeing that the programming from my parents had really let me just kind of be infused with all these beliefs that they were being programmed with. So it was almost like they just kind of slipped it into my back pocket without really me being aware of it. And then I took on those programs, and consequently, I lived in a trance. And we called it in that workshop the family trance. So by bringing awareness to that, and that is what we do in the Hakomi work as a Hakomi therapist, we just bring some awareness to what is still unaware in the client. And when it's done in a safe, accepting, allowing, definitely non-violent way, that creates a space where this can be explored and investigated and questioned. So as we did that in the workshop, of course, I could start seeing a lot of the beliefs that I lived by completely unconsciously. I could see how that was being transferred into my back pocket without me knowing it. So bringing certain things to one's awareness, to one's attention, in a way where there is a space around it, where we can explore it, that's very, very powerful. And we use many little experiments and probes. We have many ways of bringing it to awareness so that the client can realize it from within their own experience, not from another program. It's like, hey, this is how it is. You know, you need to do this, you need to do that. Komi is very different from that. It's really creating that space where the unfolding can happen from within with their own awareness, where they can become conscious of something that's just running the program. And that's why we live in a trance. We all live in a trance. We all grew up that way. Different trances, different flavors of trances, yet It's a trance. And the trance is all of it. It's not just my little trance and your little trance. It's all intermingled because of a bigger programming that we also all grew up in. So just because our parents and their parents and theirs had it, and it was infused into us, that's how it is with everything, not just our parents, all the big corporations, the governments, religions. There's all this is how it is. You have to believe me. And what happens then, of course, is that we turn away from our own discernment, our own knowing, and because it's not being welcomed, it's not accepted. We all have to be like everybody else. Otherwise, we can't fit into that trance called religion, whatever it is. And that's why it's been hard for us to really stay grounded in that in ourselves. And it doesn't make us specifically happy to live in that way, but somehow we feel at least we belong. We belong to something. Well, we do. We belong to a trance. And once you start seeing that, you don't want to belong there anymore. Just like, I don't want to be one of that, but, be part of that group because it makes no sense. And that's why when we start questioning our own experiences, we usually come to the fact where we say, I don't want to do that. I didn't even know I was doing that. That's ridiculous. And then you can start slowly choosing to not do that anymore. Now, as a culture, as a whole planet, we are all programmed. We all live in this trance. Now, a trance happens in the mind. A program happens in the mind. It's coming in, our parents and our grandparents. And I want to say that needs to be questioned. How is it possible that we keep transferring that trance? Why is nobody able to break it? Why are only very few people able to fully get out of it? Because there definitely are. And many of us are partly out of it, maybe 10%, maybe 90%, maybe 99%, maybe 100%. That doesn't matter. It matters that we start questioning basically everything about ourselves, about the world, about how everything is structured, schools, medical, farm, the farm industry, government, wars. Why do we have wars? I know a lot of people are done with wars. They don't want them anymore. But there's also a lot of people that say, well, we need wars because people are the way they are. And I would disagree with that. We only are that way in the program, in the mind, not in our true essence. So the invitation from me on my channel, in my workshops, with my clients, is to really start listening to our own wisdom, our own discernment, our own intelligence and intuition, and slowly let go, or quickly. Quickly would be good, but for most of us it takes time because they're very dense, these beliefs. So little by little we start trusting this more, and then it's almost like we start cutting through the trance we've lived in, and then a space opens up that has always been here. Remember my favorite quote: heaven on earth is spread all over the earth, and man cannot see it. Man can only see the trance. The trance can only see the trance. That's why we need to have some safe, nonviolent, loving ways to make each other curious about, is this real? Can this really be normal? Just questions like that, that might tap into a deeper place inside that says, no, that it doesn't make sense, but everybody else is believing it and everybody else is doing it. So maybe it's just me. No, 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 no. It is not you at all. It is the programming. It is the trance that you live in. Underneath the trance is that part of you that says, something doesn't match up here. An all-loving God. Why would an all-loving God want to create war? Never-ending wars. It just doesn't make sense. Now we can go and say, there is only God, God is all there is, and that is true. So we can say that trance must be something that's also coming from God. And I don't have a distinct answer for that, but that makes sense, right? Although it makes sense and it doesn't make sense. For me to make sense out of that, it has helped me to see that it is a trance, it is an illusion. It is what I talked about the other day, a hypnotic suggestion. Now, where does the suggestion come from? Does it come from the divine? Or is it really so much nothing that it actually doesn't exist except somewhere in this matrix mind? There is a Bible quote that says, God is too pure to behold iniquity. So when you are in that place of purity, of divine, it doesn't exist there. It's like God has to become a mental structure. And, it's a little tricky to talk about it because I don't think I can say it completely correctly, but I want to put it out as something to question. Right? If it's true that God is too pure to behold iniquity, then God is not able to see what is here. Heaven on earth, the kingdom of heaven. That is God. That is what the divine is able to see. So it can really only see itself, right? Because there is nothing else. There is only God. So there is nothing else to see. And then we can look at, well, what is the nature of God? And that is something that Joel Goldsmith has talked a lot about. And the nature of God is perfection, is peace, is harmony. And all of us want that now. We're done with the duality. We're done with the iniquity that's happening up here. The longing for the purity of God, the nature of God expressed. That is what we long for. And it longs for itself. It longs to bring the attention back to itself, away from the trance, away from the programming, and then come back. If I were able to explain it really well, I would, but that's not available for me at this point. I can just share it to the best of my ability. And if you want to do your own little, investigation by going deep inside, how is it possible that we can experience this duality when it doesn't really exist? It does exist in the matrix, which is a false construct. It's a bad copy, a bad Xerox copy, as I shared a few days ago. So it does exist in that structure, in that dimension, we can say. So if we want to continue living in that dimension of the mind, of the matrix, then we will keep experiencing that. It doesn't mean that it is true, but the experience of it is true, if that makes sense. And if we want to experience the perfection, the oneness, then we need to come back into ourselves to be able to experience that. So that's why the invitation to come back inside and let go of the matrix, let go of duality, let go of the mind. And as much as you're able to, this is a good place if you're not able to reach out for support. That's why I'm here. That's why many other light beings have come to this in this time and place to help lift those frequencies. And that's what many of us are doing just by being and just by resting in this place. Some of us are moved to do YouTube videos, work with clients, and others are just moved to whatever, do nothing or just gardening. I do that too. And grow our own vegetables. So it's a matter of finding that resonance inside and and then start moving from there and staying there. It's like moving from within from there, right? Not moving away from it, but moving from the inside from that place. And then do all we can to stay in that bubble of infinity. It's a big bubble. So, there is really nothing else, as far as I can see, that is more important at this time, this now moment. It can change tomorrow. But right now, to really take make it a practice, a daily practice, a many times a day practice to connect with something, with a sense of discernment that says something is not right, or I really want this. It comes from deep, deep within the well. And the more we listen to that, the more we open up the door for that. And then it can start living our lives, and it will show us what a world based in oneness and harmony and perfection looks like, not out there, but here. So it's very different. I do have a deep sense that we are moving into a new reality because it is so strong in me and many others. It's like we can just, it's so palpable, it's so tangible that it's very hard to ignore it. And you may be experiencing that too. And like, hallelujah, let me give you a high five on that. Um, and that is so satisfying, at least for me, to connect with that energy with others. And every time we do that, just on our own or with others, we really open up the portal for it to come in more as an energy so more people can start experiencing it. So more of us can start moving into that higher dimension or new reality or the original reality and start living in there and as that and from there. So what I think is so important is that the more we are able to see that we live in a trance and question that and start being curious and suspicious maybe about the programming, what we are believing in. And these programs, they go deep, so there's a lot to question. And then when we start questioning that and letting go more of that, then this that is very much here becomes more available to us. And then when you start tuning into that, it's going to be so obvious that there is something else here going on. Here, same thing. And that becomes much more interesting. The other becomes like boring. No interest, thank you. No. Tuning into this. And I have a few smaller groups where we do this, and I am going to create another group I probably will start just in my vicinity in Santa Cruz and put it out there and have people meet physically. But I also want to do more of it online if there is an interest in that. And you can let me know in the comments if this is something that sparks your interest. And you can also sign up on my website so you receive so you get on my email list, and then I'll keep you informed of when new things when I'm offering new things, and to see if you want to join that. So it's always good to be on my email list if you want to stay tuned to what I'm offering. So let's wake up of that trance and really get curious. Like, what else is here? What is here outside of the trance? The best thing is to turn off your TV, because that's a 24/7 trance invoker or whatever, a program. It's a program, right? TV program. You're being programmed all day long with that, with all the ads, with all the lies, with all the whatever it is. Has nothing to do with reality. Nothing. So turn off your TV, turn off your computer if you can, if you don't have to be on it. I know it's very seductive. My big addiction is animal rescue video is It's so sweet. It really gives me a big shot of oxytocin. But I can also get a little too watch too many of them maybe, because when you watch one, whatever you watch, when that one finishes, then the next one is already queued up for you to watch, and the next and the next. And that's how the program works. It just pulls us in, pulls us in. So if that is part of your life, and I think everybody has that in one or another area, except when you take a big break from it, it's like taking an internet fast or something, then you can actually start seeing like, oh my God, that really pulls me in a lot. But when we stop all that, even if it's just for an hour or a day, and just spend time, like go around sensing into what is here. Nature is a great place because it's very silent there already. We bring in the noise, we bring in the program, but the silence is bigger than that. And that's why many people feel a calmness when they go into nature. So that's a good place to practice. But take some time and start practicing, like what else is here besides the program in my mind, besides all the things I believe in or don't believe in or react against or for. Put it aside. Take a deep breath. Just tune in. Do it right now. You can go into your chest area if that helps. Go into your heart. Put your attention on your heart or your belly, your lower belly. Something that kind of grounds you into this now moment. And then, if you have time right now, I want to invite you to stay there a little longer. Make that a daily practice to just come down into your belly, to your hips, really ground yourself. Come out of the mind, drop in deep, and then open up to what is here already.